Good afternoon, good morning, and welcome to this last session of the week to talk about AI in insurance and also to talk about collaboration with fintech. I am your host for this session today. My name is Franck Coinan. I'm part of the financial services market, and I'm working on vertical solutions and innovation. And it's my real pleasure today to welcome Jeremy Abitboul for the presentation today. Jeremy is working for DreamQuark. DreamQuark is one of the Scalar startups. Scalar is our accelerator program. And today is going to give a presentation regarding enabling next generation customer insights and interaction in insurance through explainable AI. So before starting this presentation, we would like to play a short video by Remco Neuteboom and Rick Alberts.
Hello everybody, my name is Remco Neuteboom from Atos, where I work in the capacity as Chief Digital Officer for Financial Services. With me today is Rick Alberts from the Finder program. Rick, can you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely, Remco, and thank you for having me. My name is Rick Alberts, indeed, and I'm an associate professor at Radboud University, one of the Dutch research universities. And today we'll be talking about some of the outcomes of the Finder program, ongoing program. So back to you, Remco, to take us through the event of today.
Yeah, a little bit more about the event. So the COVID-19 pandemic has been a catalyst for digital adoption across various aspects of our private life and professional life. In the financial services and insurance industry, processes are increasingly tackled by leveraging data, machine learning, and fintechs and insurtechs. Atos has joined forces with protectionists, academics, and policymakers to discuss how to yield benefits from these developments by repositioning the banks in the ecosystem, using artificial intelligence in insurance, and mitigating risk in new venture collaborations and exploring opportunities with the European Gaia-X project. This event week is part of the Atos and Radboud University joint initiative called Finder. Rick, can you explain a little bit more about the Finder program?
Absolutely. So Finder is the acronym just introduced by Remco states, stands for Fostering Innovation Networks in Digital Era. And it's a program sponsored by the European Committee under the Marie Curie ITN funding scheme. And in this case, it allows for 4 early stage researchers, PhDs, to research fintech collaboration at large. And also today, you will see in the final session of this program, some of that dialogue, that discourse, tuning into the program. So back to the program and the event itself, Remco.
Yeah, thank you. And indeed, it's the last session of this week's event. And the title of today is Enabling the Next Generation Customer Insights and Interactions in Insurance Through Explainable AI. The speakers of today are Jeremy Abitboul, Chief Technology Officer of DreamQuark, one of our fintechs that we work with, Rick, which you have seen today, and myself. And on top of that, it's Franck Coinan, who's Group Industry Director for Insurance in the Atos organization. I can only say a bit more about the process of the session. So it's 45 minutes, of which 15 to 20 minutes will be a presentation, and the remainder of the session will be an interactive dialogue with questions and answers. So I can only wish you a lot of fun and learnings today. And Rick, maybe a last word from your side.
Enjoy the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining this last session of today's event, this week's event, and have fun.
Okay, hello everyone. And thank you, Frank, Remco, and Rick for the introduction. So today I'll be talking about how AI, and more specifically explainable AI, can help enable next generation customer insights and interaction in insurance. So first, maybe a few words about AI in insurance. I think as you probably all know, AI is and will be critical for insurance and the whole insurance sector in the coming years, because insurers need to know and understand their customers better. They need to serve them better and to provide the right services. And using data and AI for this is kind of a virtuous circle, I would say. By better understanding the customers through data, insurers will be able to then maybe collect more data, serve their customers better, create the best tailored services for them. Of course, this requires putting data and putting AI at the heart of the entire customer experience in insurance. And here you can see some of the benefits that can be driven from cross-sell and upsell through AI, customer insights, and also claims processing. So what do we do at DreamQuark? Well, we try to deliver this for insurance company. We try to help them leverage AI for their growth by making sure that AI projects can go into production and by empowering insurers with personalized customer insights. This is what this does is to make sure insurer can deliver on the use cases that are key for their business, to make it fast and efficient. So make sure that AI is no longer something that you're experimenting with, but something that is actually going into production. And a key point here is that AI will not replace advisors or agents in insurance. Instead, what needs to be done and what DreamQuark is trying to do is to empower them, to make sure AI is bringing insights that are understandable to them through explainable AI, and to make sure that AI is really helping bringing the value, again, not by replacing them, but by empowering. So how does this work? We like to call it instant intelligence. The idea is that for insurers to be able to simply create smart predictions from their data and turn them into insights that can then guide advisors to take the best actions with the customers. The way this works is that every prediction made by an AI model must come with a prescription. So this is done through explainability. So you can see a quick screenshot here, but I'll discuss a bit later, making sure the advisors know the reasons behind every recommendation that comes from AI. And the third point is make sure that this is integrated in the business. It's important that for insurance companies that AI is not happening in some isolated sandbox, but instead that it's integrated to a platform, to possibly to cloud providers, and at least that it's really available in the business processes. The top use cases for AI insurance, so these are not all of the use cases I mentioned for things like claims earlier, but these are the use cases that we are considering at DreamQuark. There are 3 of them. The first one is cross-sell and upsell. The idea is to increase the revenue and to serve the client better by predicting which one will respond best to different opportunities, different cross-sell and upsell opportunities. The second one, which is really going towards the hyper-personalization, which is kind of the target for the insurance sector in the coming year, is to make targeted product recommendations, so insurance products, for example, and improve the performance of marketing campaign by really identifying which clients are likely to be interested in which product at what time, and also why. And this is kind of, we like to say, the Netflix of insurance, so really getting the right product for the right customer at the right moment. And the third use case, which is absolutely crucial for many companies in the insurance sectors in years to come, is preventing churn. So making sure you identify, first that you identify which clients are at risk of leaving your insurance, and then identify the right action to retain them before it's too late. How does this work? This is really kind of a big picture answer of the question, but how do you go from the data to these insights to serve the customer? Well, the first step is preparing the data. This is something that we do at DreamQuark as well, make sure that the data really build on the data that's available, because insurers already have a lot of data on their customers, and prepare it to be able to be used for modeling on our modeling platform. The second one is to make predictions. And here, the brain platform that we build at DreamQuark allows really the business expert to decide what kind of insights they want, what they want to predict, and to create this directly on the platform. And then not only to create them, but also to deploy the models and to monitor them in production over time. And the third step, once these models have been built and have been deployed, is to make sure these insights are, as I mentioned earlier, presented at the right point in the business processes. So empowering advisors to grow and to retain their clients by acting on these insights, which can be presented either on applications that we will deploy or on existing CRM, but always enriching the existing business processes. Just to give you a bit more detail on one example, I have a short focus here on churn management. This is a use case that we've repeatedly delivered with customers in insurance and also with banks. And the figures here are from one of these examples. So our client was having an increased rate of customer leaving and did not have a clear picture of who the customers were and why they were leaving. And what they wanted to do, of course, was to reduce the number of customers leaving, but also to focus the retention on the most profitable customers, of course. And this, thanks to our solution, they managed to create a targeted churn management campaign and to reach about half of the high churn risk customer while just targeting 10% of their customer base. So that was a very efficient marketing campaign for them. The churn propensity scores that they built on our platform came with an explanation of the factors that influence them. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. This is the explainable part of the explainable AI. This helped guide the marketing team making the call to know what retention action to suggest for each customers, or downgrade eventually for those who had that need. The benefits for the company were really fast and operational, I would say. The model was built in a few weeks with direct participation of the business team. They did observe 40% in churn reduction, which was, of course, the target there. And they also came up with, thanks to the explainable AI, managed to upsell some of their customers because the reasons behind churn kind of provided new insights to the sales advisors to reach upsell. So the idea here is really to build AI models fast and to get immediate operational benefits, not just theoretical benefits. So I've been talking a lot about explainable AI. That's also the topic of this session. So I want to dig a little deeper into this topic now and kind of tell you why we think at Dreamcork explainable AI is kind of the way to deliver value from AI in the insurance sector. So maybe just to come back, take a little step back, that explainable AI is part of a more general context, which is often referred to as trustworthy AI. Some people like to talk about ethical AI. Really, it's more or less the same thing. So the European Commission High-Level Expert Group published a great report on that topic. I think it was over a year ago now, where they identified 7 pillars of trustworthy AI. This is at the moment only kind of a document from the expert group, but the European Commission is at the moment trying to convert this into a regulation. And what they identified were 7 key pillars. The first one is the so-called human agency and oversight. So this is related to what I mentioned earlier of not replacing but empowering advisors, so making sure that there is always a human control over AI. The second one is technical robustness and safety. The third is privacy and data governance, which we all know is really key in the context of GDPR in the European Union. And the fourth one, which is the one I want to focus on more now, is transparency. And that includes the point on explainability, so making sure that the decisions made by the AIs are understandable by the people receiving them. There are 3 other points that are very important. Fairness, so making sure that the models are not either creating or repeating unfair bias. That's absolutely key, and that's also something that we've focused on for a while now at Dreamcork. The 6th is societal and environmental well-being. And finally, accountability, which is something that is often left behind, but it's really important to know who has the responsibility for an AI model once it's in production. So this is how the European Commission sees it, but this is the direction that most of the regulators are taking. So in terms of finance, for example, the ACPR, so the French banking industry, has published a document which is quite similar to this one and is also going in the direction of regulation. Just to give one more example, the Monetary Authority of Singapore has published the FEAT principles, so I think fairness, ethics, accountability, and transparency, something like that, which are also kind of around making sure that AI in financial services is trustworthy, and the regulators around insurance are also going into this direction. So it's absolutely key. It will become very soon absolutely key for explainability to be integrated in any AI in the insurance domain. So once I've said that, how do you do it? So there are several. Sorry, I just want to mention just before I move into the details that we've also published our own white paper on ethical AI. So the link is here. I can put it in the chat if some of you are interested. So kind of an overview of what the concerns are, what the guiding principles should be, and a more direct look at concrete applications and how do you actually do produce ethical and trustworthy AI, which is what I'm going to go into right now. So in the platform that we've built in Dreamcork and in delivering explainable AI to insurers, there are, I would say, 3 levels. So I'll say a few words about all 3 of them right now. The first one is what we call global explainability. So in the phase where you're building AI model, typically data scientists will look at model accuracy. So the performance, is my model good enough? But in real business cases, before you go into production, we found that business owners also rely on explainability before they decide that a model does suit their business needs. So here in this case, the kind of information that we produce is the top 10 variables out of the maybe hundreds that an AI model is using, the top 10 that are driving the model's decisions in general. And this will have the business have confidence in the AI model. They will also be able to validate the business relevance of the model. So is it reproducing things that I have before? Am I getting new insights? Is this useful to me, etc.? Maybe at this point, you can also check for variables that should not be used by the model and remove them, train again. And this is, I mentioned regulation before. Of course, this is the kind of thing that the regulator is already asking for. So it's absolutely key that you get this explainability at the model level before going into production in financial services. The second level of explainability, which is still quite new at the moment, but which we've been working on at Dreamcork for a while now, is what scientists call local explainability. And by local, what it means is explaining each individual decision, so not how the model is behaving as a whole, but understanding how it's making every single decision. And this is key for 2 reasons. The first one is, as I've said and repeated, it's required by regulators. But the second one is it also helps make the decision actionable. If I go back to my example of churn, what made the use case I presented work and produce results operationally is not just identifying the right segment of the population to call, it's also providing the people calling them with information on why the model has identified this specific customer as likely to churn. And this provides information that can then help, let's say, build a retention campaign, for example, in this case, but in more generally, make the decisions actually actionable. And the third level, possibly the most important one, I'm sorry, the quality of the image is not great here, but it's providing the explainability to the end user. So in the future, it could actually be the end customer of the insurance. But at least at this moment, it's mainly the advisor from the insurance company. And they will get an information, again, if it's on churn, they will see what are the variables driving. So they'll see in their business application, so in their CRM, for example, what are the variables driving the model's decision and why they need to contact this specific customer. And this is where AI is really trying to, as I said before, empower advisors and help them engage better with their customers. So to conclude with my presentation, the takeaways here is first that improving customer experience through AI can drive immediate benefits. If you make sure that the business is building the right models and deploying them rapidly to production operationally. The second point is that regulation for applying AI in insurance is forthcoming and will definitely require explainability at different levels, both for the data experts, for the business owners, and for the end users of the results. I mentioned that transparency and explainability of AI models beyond the regulatory point is also making them more operational. So I think both of these points get me to my main conclusion, which is that trustworthy and explainable AI are absolutely key for making AI efficient and operational in the insurance domain.